Hey guys, OFSREagle here, bringing you a brand new video today. Today I'm bringing you my movement tips and tricks for the map Plaza. I haven't done this series in a while. The last one I did, I believe, was my not my go-to skill jumps, movement tips and tricks for the mechanics. Just goes over some of the basic movement patterns and movement mechanics and tricks that you should master before progressing with this series. So if you haven't watched that already, be sure to watch that right now before progressing with this one. I'll leave that down in the comments below. You also might be wondering why I haven't uploaded a video in a while. I just wanted to share with you, the last video I uploaded was my Columbus vlog over a week ago, and I just wanted to quickly share that I actually was in the hospital not too long ago, and just had to address some health issues. Don't worry, I'm okay, everything's fine. Just had to take care of a few things, but now that's out. Now that that is all out of the way, I'm back and ready to continue bringing some awesome content to you guys. So for this video, I'm going to be going over not necessarily skill jumps specifically, but how I utilize the skill jumps that I use a lot, different movement tips and tricks that I find are really useful for Plaza. So the first thing I'm going to go over is actually one little thing that I've found to be really useful is whenever trying to value different skill jumps and how to skill jumps and movement and how to value it and figure out what's useful is to take some time to figure out what is valuable in a map. So you do that by kind of thinking about and kind of reviewing what are the high traffic areas, what are some key power positions that are often tried to be occupied. So once you kind of answer that, that'll kind of give you a good idea of where good movement can be very useful in the right areas. So for example, one of the things I'll just start showing you is let's say for cafe window. Cafe window is a power position that a lot of people want to occupy because it offers a lot of assets. So a lot of the times you have to navigate to it, right? And I'm going to show you a few things a few habits that I see a lot of people use for navigating to it. They'll either do a thrust slide and a clamber up to it. They will maybe just sprint, jump, and clamber. And the one thing about clambering that not a lot of people remember is it's a locked animation that takes up time. And when you're in the middle of it, you can't shoot. So if you're able to avoid a clamber when going to a position, that's preferred. So I went over this I think I went over this in the mechanics video, but it's something that you'll find to be very useful. You see a lot of pros do, and also you'll see me do it in different areas of the map here, is instead of doing like a normal thrust slide into a clamber, if you have to clamber, you have to clamber, but if you can, what you end up doing is after you finish that maneuver, you end up stabilizing and holding crouch. And what that does, it clears your Spartan from over the edge of whatever you're trying to clear, and when you hold crouch, it tucks your feet up, and you can clear it without having to clamber like this. And that is a much smoother, much more polished movement that has the main advantage of allowing you to shoot while you're in the middle of that. Because I could be shooting here, have to clamber, and then I shoot, right? And I'm trying to shoot as fast as I can, but you'll see there's that break, right? So what I find to be useful is you hold the clamber or hold the crouch when you do a stabilize after you do that thrust slide, and it allows you to shoot as you're even still floating up there. And so it's just something that allows you that extra advantage if you need to get into a gunfight quickly, or let's say your teammates are calling out that hey, someone's weak in flowers. You're able to now get up there a lot sooner without clambering, and that's a very, very good asset to have. You know, if you have to, you can still clamber. It's just you'll see a lot of pros do it too. It's that extra polish of movement that allows you. Now there I messed up because I didn't actually fully slide, but it's a sprint, thrust, slide, jump, stabilize, hold, crouch, and you see that you clear it, and that will just allow you to be at the ready to fire your gun sooner. So right here I find it to be useful because you want to sometimes get here and clear out the Spartans quickly. I find it to be useful for that. Another movement trick that I can give you is for this area here. So when you spawn blue, you oftentimes are sometimes trying to rush to the sniper spawn or that nest area. And navigating this can sometimes make or break whether you get to that sniper rifle first or if you get the one up in a gunfight over there. So I'm going to show you something that I find to be really useful. Now a lot of people they'll do this. They may run, okay. They may do a thrust slide off here, up it, which lets them float right over the snipe, which is fine. You can do that. There are also a few other things that I find to be more useful. Some people also will do this. They'll kind of like do this. Resume your sprint, do a Spartan charge. May even do an extended Spartan charge, depending. I found something to be a little bit more, be a little bit faster, that gets you over there quicker, and may just get you to that position sooner if you so desire. You can do a delayed Spartan, a delayed thrust slide. If you don't know what it is or how to do it, check my go-to movement tips and tricks mechanics video. What you do is here you do a sprint, you do a thrust slide, a delayed thrust slide. So you sprint, jump, and then right before you land you press thrust slide and jump, and it's going to carry over that momentum, right? And now you'll see when I do this, I actually end up over here. Now I add a little jump right as my feet connect with the ground over at Cinema Platform, and when chained together, it really does allow a really fast navigation over here. And you can see I'm able to now be here in this position, and I'm going to grab a few grenades real quick, and you'll see why. And the reason why I emphasize the grenades is because when navigating this, you can then throw a grenade off these benches, and especially if this is the situation that we're trying to simulate here, that's off the spawn, the start of the game, a lot of red, at least one or two red teammates or red members are going to be running over here to snipe, right? And so that grenade here can severely take down their shields, make them even one shot, or at least prevent them, make them take a step back, which may allow you to get that power weapon. Or position to nest, whatever it may be. I prefer this method over doing something like this. I've seen a lot of people do. They'll do this, right? And the reason why I don't do that as much is because right there I messed it up, and that's one downside to doing this. Is you can do a thrust slide jump over here, but you'll see that if it's done at the wrong timing, it'll actually drop you right in between garbage truck and that platform, right? So a lot of times you have to do it a little bit early, jump, but you notice like right here I've lost all momentum and I have to resume a sprint again, right? And when I land here, I don't have a good positioning to nade that bench area. And plus, if I do that, I can probably do like a little extended Spartan charge there as well. Like I can do something like this, right? But to me, I prefer, I just feel like it's a little bit faster, a little bit more clean. Now the one downside to it is this, and I'll show you right now, is you have these, like right there, I messed it up, right? And that's because over here at the garbage truck, you see there's this little uprising on the garbage truck. And if you thrust directly into that, it'll remove a lot of momentum, and that's bad. So what I found to be the best path is I line myself up over with this corner of the garbage truck, and that's where I sprint, jump, thrust slide, jump again, and now you see I'm in a much better position. I like it. So that's my tip here for garbage truck. Another little movement tip that I can suggest for this is make sure you start turning a little bit sooner than you landing up there. That way your reticle is on the enemy when they're most likely going to be there. Now my next movement tip is over actually still by the garbage truck area. It's more in a gunfight mentality. Now with gunfights, you know that a lot of gunfights occur in here, right? Especially this area when you just drop from nest or whatever, and they may either occur from like you shooting from a hotel or something like that, but a lot of times you're stuck here down by a garbage truck and you have to like somehow get your way out of it, right? What I find to be really useful is what I find for really useful for gunfights is a lot of people have an expectation because Halo 5 is now over 2 years old, right? So when you come up in a gunfight with garbage truck, one thing to be aware of is that you're able to grenade under the truck, right? So remember that'll come into play later. So what I find to be useful is that with this right here, oftentimes you're in a gunfight and you have this a lot of peeking side to side action, right? And you can expect when you hide, let's say you shoot someone, right? And this is them, this is the enemy right here, and they get shot, they'll duck in. The first thing, just by habit, the first thing I know you're going to do is you're going to peek to the other side, okay? And and that's just a common thing people do is, you know, and they might do something like this, right? Because you get shot, oh, I'm going to duck back in, I might try to shoot them from this angle. And it's a very common encounter that most people know and expect. So what I find useful is when you're in that situation, when you're getting shot, it can be done from this side or from right here. But I find that there's a term in fencing called a feint. It means fake or a dodge or a bluff, basically. And you kind of lead the enemy to think one thing when you are about to do another. So when let's say I'm here and I get shot, I'll go in here, I won't peek out this other side. I will, this is the movement pattern I sometimes have, and if I know if it'll work against the enemy, I'll do it. If, let's just say I happen to know they're a really smart player, it may not work, but I will try end up doing this is, they get a shot at me, I come here, I'll actually pause here a second, clamber, and then, now there I clamber the wrong spot, but I get shot or I land a shot, I come here, I wait a second, I clamber, and then I navigate this way, right? And the reason why I navigate towards nest is because that's a height position. It's a higher level. It gives me more of an advantage. So I want to navigate towards this way if I can, or even back up. I prefer going towards nest, but the main thing I want to point out here is I'll cut in a second. I'll wait a half beat, right? I won't peek out this other side. Then I'll clamber, and the reason why I do that is this is how normal majority of players think. They land one shot, they expect you here. They don't see you there. The first thing you're going to do is they're going to double back and check the last position they saw you. So what I end up doing is by doing that, they shoot me here, I come in, I clamber, and the reason why I clamber is now by the time I clamber, they have checked here, I'm not there, they now double back. And then I can either fall and get a back smack, or let's just say they heard some of the movement, they may thrust out this way, right? And so I will thrust them over to nest, and now I'm at a height advantage, and I have a better chance of surviving that gunfight, right? And so you can do that from either side. It can be here. It happens a lot here. I'll do something like this, and I won't necessarily rotate this way. What I will end up doing is I will either throw a grenade, so I'll peek out, do something like this. Now right there I messed up the timing, but let's say I get shot, instead of doing this, I may do this, and that way it puts me at the power position. I can now throw a grenade back here, and that will either hit them, or it'll force them out to either this side or this side, in which I can finish out the kill. And now, the other thing about that position is, let's say you're at the broadside, obviously it's not as quick and easy to do that, right? So what I do is I want the enemy to think I'm still at the ground level. I still want to navigate up here. A lot of people expect that, but when you throw a grenade, let's say we're in a little gunfight here and I thrust in, I'll throw a grenade here, and the reason why is it may not hit them, but what it will do is it will force their attention down at their feet, and so they won't see me clamber the truck. That's just something I found to be really helpful. Again, it can be done from either side, but something that I like to do is that where kind of in this gunfight area, you're kind of peeking out, you throw a grenade, I'll do this, and they'll either back up or they're going to be distracted thrusting, and then you can finish them out that way. So I find that to be useful. Now my next movement tip follows the same line of thought as faking out, is over here by light rifle, in Orange Hall. A lot of times this gunfight in here, right, or even revolves around green soda or cinema. First we'll handle this situation, right? So for example, let's say we're in a gunfight here, right, and I get hit, I'm trying to live. 90% of the time you end up living by cutting over here. A lot of times an enemy will expect that, right? So they land shots, they see you cut in, they might either do something like this. They'll most likely, they're going to try to shoot you out from over here, right? Or even try to grenade off that. So what I find to be useful, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it never hurts to try, is you're here, you're one shot, instead of just peeking right back out, you can actually wait here and again almost do a doubling back motion. So you're here, you kind of thrust in, right? And they're going to expect you over on this side by green soda. What I end up doing is this, and it allows me to either get a smack and then finish them out, or get a back smack, because they're now here, normally expecting you here, right? They're not expecting a player right here. It's just something I find to be really useful. It won't always work, but a lot of times it does. You kind of like do this little fake out and then jump here, and because this will cover their sight line, they don't see you coming. Also, along that same route is, if they're more like on the light rifle area, not necessarily the orange hallway, let's say they're more or less right here, I find if they do happen, like let's say I just know they're pushing this way or for some reason, and you're weak over here, I find it useful is just kind of doing a roundabout. I fake out a lot of people just by doing that. By just, let's say we're in a gunfight here, I'll like sprint this way, and 9 times out of 10 they'll think you're going down here. I can go like this, so they'll either thrust out and maybe get a ground and try to go for a ground pound, or they may be over here, like I don't know, like a lot of times I find them looking like this towards me. So what I tend to do is, because normally they try to maybe chase it at first and then they realize, oh, he's gonna go out this way. So what I do is I go like this, and I can be now a reverse situation. And to me, I find it useful. It won't always work 100% of the time, but it's definitely something that may gain you the upper hand in a gunfight. Also, like right there, what you saw me do, if I know, again, if I'm playing against someone who's really smart and knows the map and may even like just quickly anticipate that, all right, and they're not where I think they're gonna be. Let's just say they double back into Orange Hall, and now I'm at a real disadvantage. If let's say I clamber this and they now double back instead of trying to follow it around, and they may try to like shoot the barrel, something like that. The first thing I'll do is, if I can see that, if I see them at the corner of my eye in Orange Hall, I'll do this. That way, it puts this, it breaks that line of sight, and we're now at a more even playing field. So, those are things that I find useful for that. Now, the next thing I want to point out, this little movement here I find to be really useful, is when you're going towards, let's say, glass, right? And glass being a power position, it also offers a sight line into yard, right? Now, navigating there can take some time. So what I found to be useful is doing almost like a delayed thrust slide through here. You can get a nice quick sight line into yard, okay? And I find that to be useful because a lot of the time, especially like with strongholds, if they're like about to cap it or you're trying to help a teammate, you know, contest it or whatever, you can often get there a lot sooner than normal just by getting that sight line in here. And so what I'm doing is I'm doing that delayed thrust slide jump, but what I'm also doing is right as my feet connect with glass, I press jump again and I turn my reticle over, right? And you can do it without the delayed Spartan, the delayed thrust slide. But I find that to be useful because a lot of times if I'm just navigating there quick, I won't have the luxury of lining up myself there. So what I'll do is I'll get a quick, I'll end up doing that about, yeah. That's the position I find myself being when that situation occurs or when I need to. So just getting into the habit of that, just kind of doing it. Now there I messed it up, but we can still see it still works. So another movement tip I have is, even for right here, now this is kind of like a skill jump, but basically you sprint, and I probably didn't cover this before, but basically you sprint, jump, thrust, hold jump, and you're able to hit this light post, right? And it's just something, now again, I think of things that not a lot of people expect, right? And the reason why you want to do that is because, again, this game being 2 years old, there's a lot of set patterns and things people pick up on. And people expect to shoot a Spartan within this area and at glass. They aren't expecting, and they aren't normally having their reticle up there. So by doing this, all you're doing, it's very simple. You're at a full sprint, jump, and it's very similar to like on Fathom or the rig where you do like a thrust bump into a crate. You're actually doing it here. It's just right after you clear it, you press and hold jump, and it gives you extra height. If you do it too soon, you end up clambering like that. But you're basically sprinting, jump, thrust, hold jump, and it gives you that air, amount of air, right? And the reason why that's so useful is because I find, let's just say your team has perfect power position and you completely wiped out the enemy team, and now you're going to spawn trap them, right? Done right, you can get them to spawn trap, you get them to spawn yard or back in their back in tram loop, right? And so oftentimes you can get a nade over there, right? And that's why I like that so much. You can either stabilize it to delay it if you want, like this, where you can sprint, see him, and then throw that nade into there, and it works great. But if you were just to do like something a little bit more normal, like, I don't know, something like this, you won't have as easy of a shot to throw that nade. You won't be able to have as good of a sight line. So, and also the other reason why I like this jump is because you can actually clamber up here. And again, that's something that's very unexpected, not a lot of people anticipate, and you can hit it without doing a stabilize. So, and again, no one really expects this. If you want, you can shot ground pound, whatever. Those are things I find to be useful. Another movement trick, tip and trick I have is a lot of times people are trying to go from green soda to cinema, especially top of cinema stairs, right? And so they'll a lot of times do this, which is fine. You can do that, or they'll end up doing this, which is fine as well. What I found to be really useful is often you end up trying to do that from bottom mid. You try, so you end up clambering this here. You'll either do something like that, or you'll get this. A lot of times is what happens, and then they will probably shoot towards the power position or that stronghold. I found the one issue with that is you have a big sight line from cafe window, and a lot of times when you're weak bottom mid, you get called out, and someone cafe window will, oh, he's by green soda bottom mid, and they'll be looking over here, and if you go for that, you're in their sight line getting shot that whole time. All right. So what I found to be useful is, and not a lot of people know this, but right here, this is the clamber position. All you literally have to do, walk, jump, hold, crouch, clamber. And as you can see, you're blocked by the top mid here. You're not seen by that. You can even jump, hold, crouch, and now you've clambered up to top of cinema stairs with them not seeing you up until the very last chance, right? So, for example, why I find it to be useful is you can hit this, right, and you can get this really quickly. It's also a lot easier to hit than having to go here, right? And because this is at a little bit of a downward slant, you can't jump and hold crouch right here unless you do it twice in a row like I just did. You have to navigate to right here in order to do that. So from bottom mid, even closer by that van right here, jump, hold, crouch, clamber, and you can hit it again. Okay, I find that to be useful. Also, what's nice about this is from here, you don't have to jump up there. You can also walk forward, jump, hold, crouch, clamber, and you can clamber top mid by overshield. So a lot of options there. A lot of people don't know about it. I find it to be useful. It's, again, something unexpected. People do expect you to clamber this, just not, I don't know, just with that sight line, especially with when you're playing it as fours. If they may say, I don't see it, you know, he may spot you if you're doing this one from right here and call you out, and then they know to expect it. But if he can even be cafe window, not see you, and then all of a sudden you're right here, and it's really advantageous. Again, it's just kind of a simple thing right here. And then this is something, again, no one really expects. This is, you know, once you clamber it, if you want, you can take a minute, clamber this, and all of a sudden you're over. It has some options for you. The other thing I find to be really useful is going through this larger cafe window. This is a very, very routine spot for people to clamber through, right? So oftentimes I find myself getting naded out from right here because of this little clamber point right here. It's a very common clamber point. A lot of people do it, and a lot of people expect it. So they nade right here, and you clamber into a grenade or even get stuck. So one thing I found to be really useful is, let's just say I want to get through cafe, because a lot of people do this, right? And you can even, now right here you're kind of stuck at a clamber, you kind of have to. What I find to be useful is you can do a thrust slide here, and then if you jump and hold crouch at the end and you hit this, you can jump, hold crouch again, and you can now land up here without clamber. And this right here, again, as I referenced with that higher elevation, this is a spot that not a lot of people are expecting a Spartan to be. and especially coming through the window. They normally expect when they're coming through the window, even if they hear you coming, they're ready for that right in front of it, right? Also, if you do a delayed thrust slide, you won't be able to hit that ledge, but you can actually fly through here a lot faster. You won't be able to hit that perch, but let's say you don't want to, so you could be up here. You can actually hit this, right? And you can fly through here really fast. Now there I mispositioned it, so I wasn't able, so I kind of like pinballed against the window edges. But like right here, you're able to fly through here really quick. And it's just something, again, very unexpected, not a lot of people do. My last little bit of a movement tip and trick I have is right here for top gold, right? A lot of people, when they're going to clamber top gold, is they end up clambering a lot. They may do something like this, where they kind of like do like this, something like that. The reason why I bring it up is this clamber, again, makes noise and takes up time. A lot of times you do that when you want to either occupy this, but a lot of times when someone is here and you want to kill them in any way, shape, or form. And what I find is when I'm top gold and someone tries to come at me from it, the 90% of the time, this is what I see. I see them come up through here, clamber this, and try to throw a grenade. And this is so from their perspective, they're doing this, right? And I find that to not work for them because I'll hear it, and that clamber, that amount of time that they're clambering, is time they're not shooting at me, and they can't throw a grenade during that, right? And so what happens is when that happens to me, I'll land a few shots and I'll thrust out. Whether it be to drop down or whether it be to, I can even do something like this where, I see it happening. I'll even land a few shots and then get a melee or melee again, whatever. Sometimes if I melee again, they'll land that sticky grenade on me, but a lot of times when I see that happening, I'll do something like this. And now I'll finish them out and I can occupy my power position again. So, I find this to be useful. It's really helpful because when you're at top gold, you're either looking this way or you're looking towards Plaza and the tram area to have a spawn cutoff, right? So, when that happens, when they're looking this way, I find this to work a lot. This is kind of precise, but if you notice when I walk over this, there's a little lip here, right? And what you can do is you can line yourself up, kind of line your reticle up right there, and you want to clambering anyway. But like right there, just like that, I kind of wait for that little bump. I jump, hold crouch, and the moment, if I do it too early, it won't work. If I do it too late, it won't work. Walk, jump, hold crouch, and it's going to take some time at first, but you're actually able to hit this, jump, hold crouch, and not clamber, and you're able to land it. Right there, I was really close, and the reason why it works is because right as you do it, right as your feet land, you have to start turning and looking to your left. And what that does is it actually rotates your feet, because you're looking the other way, more onto the top of the pipes there, and it ends up allowing you to hit it without a clamber. You have to make sure you jump, hold crouch, and then turn right as your feet connect and turn to the left. Like that. And I find it to be, again, something that just may give you that extra little edge on a gunfight. Again, it takes a lot of time in practice. It has worked out, like, especially one time I can remember is, it was actually OV was up here, and they had no idea because they were anticipating, like, a spawn over there. And I was just able to hit it, and they did not hear me. I mean, it's a silent maneuver. Those are my go-to, or like my movement tips and tricks for Plaza. Hopefully you guys found it useful. If you did, be sure to let me know. If there's any that you have some questions or concerns about, or comments, let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't, please be sure to like and subscribe. And I'm really excited to keep bringing good content to you guys. It's something that I really enjoy doing. Hopefully you guys do as well. So with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.